You guessed it. But both these guys are really fun. Bly, I think, will be the aggressor. He'll be the first one to start aggression, because that's... Well, actually, I take that back. Aside from cannon rushing, right, Zerg has the faster attacks. They have Baneling Bust, they have Speedling All-Ins, they have Proxy Hatcheries. But Parting has definitely been known to throw out a cannon rush or two. So this is a best of 5, as it is the finals. In the top left, as the blue Zerg, it is Bly. This was number 5 and... Oh, no, you're right. It's number 4 NA. They didn't release number 5 NA for some reason. I think they just forgot. In the bottom right, as the red Protoss, it is Parting. So, a week and a half old. Yeah. They're NA in spirit. A little bit. Not even gonna disagree with you with that. It's a little bit. I know exactly what you mean, too. I think we all do. We'll take Parting as honorary American. Americans love doing that. We're not the best at something. We'll take something that's the best at something and make it our own. Yeah! Scientists, athletes, free market. You name it, man. Anyways. Bly has his Overlord purposely scouting for an actual cannon rush. Parting probably knows that that is one of his strongest mental games he can play, so he, like, kind of threatened it. Bly takes it seriously enough to send a drone down, but his drone on the other side of the map actually scouted that there was no forge. So he doesn't really have to keep the drone here. And he also is continuing to see no forge? No, actually, just kidding. Buildings don't see shit. They really don't. So I guess in his mind, the immediate reaction to a proxy hatch could be a forge, because that is actually a reaction. People do that. And if that's the case, then he needs to be careful about not letting this down. So it's probably happened in the past, to be honest, to Bly. And that's why he's so on guard against a probe with no forge behind it. It is a double gateway response. You could have pulled more probes with the Zealot to still get an okay timed Nexus. Bly is almost for sure going to try and do an Evolution Chamber trick, though. And has even done it... I think he's done Hatch, Evolution Chamber Hatch before, actually. Be as annoying as possible. It's about as much as you're going to get, though.
Thank you for appeasing.
But no, that's not Parting's response. Parting wants to go for the 2 gateways. Now let's get a little bit tricky. Bly obviously let his hatchery finish, so that's 350 minerals that forced a response from the Protoss, you know, and that's always like a big question mark if that's really worth it, especially since most of our Protosses nowadays have all gone through the phase that once existed where every game was a proxy hatch. Like they know how to deal with it nowadays. But kind of on the flip side, what we see here is that the Zerg know the Protoss know how to deal with it, and they've also learned how to deal with the Protoss that knows how to deal with it. You know what I'm saying? That made absolute sense, and no one can disagree with me right there. But seriously, like, the 2 gateway follow-up, I think, fell kind of out of fashion because it doesn't really do much. It does force more lings from the Zerg, though, and you're in this ever-constant battle of who made the least amount of units required to take the least amount of damage. And it's a really dumb battle. It's dumb. But these adepts see that there's been even more lings made. Bly is only now going back into droning. And I think the, what is this, total 3 adepts now? Yeah. The total of 3 adepts was probably okay to force out as many lings as Bly had to make. No fast 3rd hatchery behind this either. And also getting some decent scouting, because that Oracle's not quite over to the other side of the map yet. But that will be the next part of the scouting. And Parting still has to be careful that it's not a Speedling all-in. Which I don't think it is. I mean, he's not... Okay, there we go. Back in the drones. There we go. Just waiting for his hatchery to put down or some such. Need more minerals, I guess. Nexus finishes up for Parting. A couple drones do go down immediately. I know he built Spore Crawlers... I thought he built 2 Spore Crawlers. I guess... that's on me. I'm going crazy again. So he was probably hoping that his 2 queens would be in the natural to deal with the Oracle, but they're constantly out of position. So it's another 2 drones go down. And at this point, with how the start was so weird, an extra 3 actually, this is totally worth it for parting. Who's even going to be able to take an okay trade here against the Lings? Looks like 4. Wow. Okay, 2 Adepts barely survive. And this is the healthy Oracle. Going for a stasis trap, though, on top of a Spore Crawler and a Queen. Oh, jeez. If the Queen hadn't evacuated, it would have died, actually. Oh, but then it runs back in and dies anyway. Alright, then. Alright. Good attempt to focus fire down the 2 unhealthy Adepts. Grabs 1, but not the other. A couple force fields come out as well to try and take whatever it can off. Slice and dice those Lings up. Roachborn now on the way. Both of them at a pretty equal worker count. Is what you would want to see as the in a ZVP. It's very different in any other matchup. In a ZVP, that's okay. But Bly really should have a point of skyrocketing forward and then parting goes back to matching, right? As the 3rd base comes down, you're fully saturated on 2 bases, you stop building probes for a second, the Zerg builds 10 or 15, and you're like, okay, you gotta catch up. But Bly is not building any more drones, sorry, at least not right now. So stuck at 39. That's actually a lot of Zerg all-ins around like 42, aren't they? I guess it's negligible. The point is, like, he is committing to a decent number of roaches, but possibly because he saw how many Adepts there were and he had run out of Lings. Adepts try their best to get more drones. 4 go down, 2 go into the main base for a decent scout as well. If they could see what pops out of these eggs, it's like 100%. Okay, he knows exactly what it is. It's absolutely an all-in. It's not Bly, you know, it's not him going for roaches first, drones second. It's just him going completely all in. So he sees a few more roaches, and that's got to be enough to tell him that it's going to be an attack. That was just too many to deal with a handful of Adepts. Initially, parting almost autopiloted into Resonating Glaives, but he did change it up to Blink, which is almost 70% done. Another Oracle's on the way alongside +1. An Immortal's going to pop out. The Oracles will not be a bad option. They'll also cut right through any cocoons making of the Ravagers. And if you can make anything at all right now, then flip and make it, right? So he even tries to put a couple shield batteries in the front line. Parting, determined to save this 3rd base. I think he's going to be fine. Actually, I think this will work. The Oracles get caught up in a couple of Queens that are coming across the map. So one with like a lot of energy just went down. And the only one left now has nothing to really help out with. But this bought time for an Immortal. No second Immortal. He actually chooses to go for a Void Ray instead. I would have liked the Immortal. Personally, I think it's a little more dependable than a Void Ray, but obviously if the Queens aren't here, then that sounds a bit counterintuitive because the Void Ray can't get shot down. But, the Queens are coming. I guess either one really works, and now he's able to add on a second Immortal. More Stalkers coming in as well. He's got a surplus of minerals, which is why we see all these shield batteries coming down. The Void Ray reveals itself, but here come the Queens. 2 Queens, 1 with Transfuse. Is that going to be enough? I don't know about that. The shield battery. This Void is going to try so hard. It's going to try so hard to get free damage. But, I mean, look how much free damage it really did. Not much. And I guess this is what I usually expect from a Void Ray defense. This is why I was so unenthusiastic about the Void Ray. There's still a second Immortal. There's a ton of shield batteries, more Stalkers with Blink, and +1 is going to finish before this fight is over and done with. Void Ray actually goes down to Corrosive Vials for the Queens, both actually. There's a lot of force fields in this army as well. Tons of Corrosive Vials to try and predict those and cancel them out, but a little late on them perhaps. No, the Lings actually still get the full surround. Force field still coming down. He's still got a couple in his pocket as well as he continues to save all the sentries, blinking out of harm's way as well. So many shield batters on that high. You're going to be able to save the army. Their nexus, unfortunately, is going to go down, but Bly significantly low. Very, very low on workers. He went down to 30 workers, actually. That's not enough just to kill the 3rd nexus. Because he also still has this gigantic army of Protoss to deal with that are better upgraded and still have all the sentries alive, so if they don't have a lot of force fields right now, they will in like 30 seconds. We also have a Dark Shrine being added on for some harassment or Archon access, a robotics bay for maybe Colossus. Very dependable units, if they're not the most cool. They're really not cool at all. But Disruptor, I mean, it could be Disruptor. It just is less dependable. I think parting is totally fine. Bly did start droning as I was talking about his drone count, so he's about to get back up to 51 here, but that's... I mean, that's after a lifetime of being so much lower on the drones. Look at that graph. It didn't matter that parting lost his third base when Bly committed so much to the attack. Maybe she starts on the 24th. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. I think most people would consider all of Katowice, you know? But you're right, it's the open qualifiers that start on the 24th. Oh, it is Disruptors and a second Robo. A couple probes go down and an unfortunate transfer, but that's not really enough to make up for all of the income that went into this army right here, right now. This army was mostly untouched during that attack. DT is also getting to the main base, going to distract the army away from the front, but parting, missing an observer. Kind of has to pull back from here. It's unfortunate. You know, the creep dynamic is not as severe as it is in ZVT, but it's still something you have to consider. You don't really just want to head straight into a bunch of creep spread and more creep spread and then get surrounded by creep spread. So waiting for an observer, probably the safer bet. Gets a quick cancel. Is that a kill? That was a kill, I think. Wow, he's killed it twice? No, he's killed one hatchery because it was proxy. That's right. Okay, so that was a kill, though. Point is, that was a kill. And the DTs are still alive with the War Prism. Parting has 3 bases, going to be fully saturated as soon as he fills these gas geysers. And Bly is just not at the equivalent for a ZVP. He wants to be up on that 4th base by now, ready to not just max out on a Roach, Ravager, Ling, Baneling army, but then also have a little bit extra in his pocket to remake if it doesn't work out. With the Banelings included, an even supply does get a lot scarier. Without Banelings, an even supply goes favorably for the Protoss. With Banelings on creep, anything can happen. Splash is the key there to making comebacks, right? But yeah, off of creep, no centrifugal hooks. That's not gonna be where it's at. Bly also only just now finishing his Roach speed, by the way. Not that Ravagers care about it. That's all he made. And the Disruptors finally show themselves. I think that might be Bly's first sighting of them. War Prism dropped off the DTs to once again attempt to deny that's 4th, but it gets cleaned up. But now it's just there to reinforce. More Stalkers coming in, +2 about to finish. Parting's pretty damn good at this Blink Stalker micro. Still favoring this composition. Not that it's an old composition. Some people are still doing this. Heck, it was actually a go-to response against the Swarm Host era of 4 or 5 months ago. But it still feels just a little bit extra parting, you know? Going a mass Blink Stalkers. The Disruptors trying to get some decent shots. Amazing force fields on top of those Banelings. There's so many of them, but the Corrosive Bios break them. Nope, more force fields come down. Sorry, man. And so many of those Banelings actually were dying to the Stalker shots. That wasn't even the case of one Disruptor just killing every single one. No, they just got stalled out in those force fields, looking just absolutely useless. The Corrosive Bios come down as the force fields are going to go away anyways. I quit, you don't fire me. And this is going to be an easy peasy snipe on that 3rd base. The Rock's really helping out there, but even without the Rocks, there were so many force fields still left over that a similar situation probably happens. Banelings might get a couple connections, not even blinking away. It would leave the sentries to be targeted, but at this point they've kind of done their job. And the Disruptors are also threatening that amazing shot. Good split there from Bly, and he does have a little bit of a run-by going down here. Couple of probes, more than a couple of probes go down. 10 probes go down, but he also knows now that a Parting has a 4th base, and that's just not a good sign. His 3rd base is remade with this 4th base finishing. He's got to hope for amazing Baneling hits. Force field's barely coming down in the nick of time. Not on the left side, though. They hit in the heart of the army. That is a very effective Baneling attack. It's just not enough. So many Stalkers left alive. All the sentries died, but as I said, they did their job. And many of the Disruptors left over. GG. Bly tried his best with a comeback composition right there. Probably the best comeback composition that Zerg has, aside from getting a Swarm Host, I guess. But Parting was all over it, man. He's not afraid of anything. Quickly on to game number 2. On World of Sleepers. Dun dun dun. Did I miss Uncle Vinny's Prime sub? I'm sorry, dude. Thank you for the 7 months. Go Blondie Grub. Someone think of a jingle for me. I would, but I'm terrible at singing and rhyming and songwriting. Anything to do with lyrics, I'm terrible at it. In the bottom left, on Water Sleepers, it is Bly. In the top right, as the red Protoss, it is Parting. I've always wanted to be a better singer, and I think anything that trains your vocals would help in casting. Vocal training would help. Well, how? General voice lessons would help general singing, and general singing lessons would help general voice overs. Yeah, something along those lines. But I've also just specifically wanted to learn how to sing well. I've forgotten everything that music classes have ever taught me. You know, like the scales. What? Huh? What are they? Pitches? I don't know. What are those things called? The way you identify, like, man and woman's voices? Like a tenor or whatever? Yeah, I don't... Nope, forgotten all of it. And on top of that, no natural gift for the thing. Hated choir. I had a terrible choir teacher. I once felt like I was gonna throw up, so I raised my hands to try and tell the teacher, can I go to the nurse? I feel like I'm gonna throw up. And she ignored me. She, like, saw me and ignored me. So I threw up on the people that were below me in this stands. Ha! That really blew up in her face, didn't it? I was fine after that, actually. But anywho. What an amazing story, ZombieGrub. Thank you. Bly was going for a pool first, which the probe now sees, of course. Parting gonna go for a wall off here. He already had that one little spot set up for the adept. Seems to have the gateway, which is gonna be faster than you would really want to, but you gotta hold against the lings first. And then you want to see what's happening behind this, and there is certainly something happening. The probe not gonna be able to see the Roachborn. Oh, it was so close. It might have caught a glimpse of the gas still being mining, but that was also like... Ooh, that was really close. I don't know if he actually saw that. I don't know. And even if it was still mining, I mean, do you see that all three are still mining? Do you know that it's past 100 point already? Because the spawning pool wasn't seeing wiggly jiggly. I don't know. That's a really... Oof. That's a very, very small tell. This could be dangerous. Roach is now on the way, and Parting, I don't see any extra precautions. He does follow up with a robo, though, so that might just be the extra precaution. And whether it is or isn't, it's actually an amazing response. Either it's coincidental, or he does know it's going to be a Roach follow-up. The robo's pretty much the most reliable follow-up, I guess. Stargate's also pretty reliable. Oh, grabs the one probe. But Robo will be even more so. Especially if it's something really silly, like the very brief burrow, two-base burrow Roach build that was on the ladder for a little while. Observer a little bit better than that Oracle. Anyways, the Adept sees the Roaches, so any question of does he know about this is just like, it's not a question anymore. Shield batteries do come down. Extra pylon as well. See, that's, I think, what you can really look at to say if the Protoss realizes it's happening or not. Because the robo could be coincidental, as I said. If there's only one pylon, I think they didn't know. That one pylon's going to get instantly burst down, and you're going to be in a lot of trouble. So even 3 pylons, including the one that fully walls off. Warp Gate, oh, he cancels that one. Warp Gate was chronoed out, so no chance to lose that. He will eventually lose the Cybernetics Core, though, and lose access to Stalkers and Sentries, and that gets a little bit scary. But with a robo pumping out an Immortal here and a Chrono on top of it as well, Parting... I feel like should be okay. Force fields need to come down. More Stalkers have been warped in. He only has so many force fields. And Gateway is going to be next to fall. Does start rebuilding Cybernetics Core. This still feels okay for Parting as long as it doesn't let too many Lings through. A little late to that force field perhaps. And the Corrosive Bile a lot faster this time. Going to tear it down. No second force field. There it is. As the Immortal pops out, it's going to help with the Lings first and foremost. The Lings are the only thing that make this truly scary, I think. That's actually the case of most Zerg All-Ins. It's when those Lings get to rounds or they get into the mineral lines, right? Otherwise, a couple of Roaches, hell, even a Pro Pool would do okay against those. So once the Lings are gone, Bly really can't commit much more. He's going to build up more Ravagers, build up more Lings. At this point, I think scouting with the Stalkers is a little bit dangerous. I'd say warping an Adept Well, this is exactly why it was dangerous. And he scouted with 2 stalkers as well. Misclick / scout? I'm not sure. It was an unnecessary loss. And his 2 shield batteries thrown in a hurry are both hit by a single corrosive bile. That's not a good sign either. War Prism is coming out right now, and that's a very crucial tool to a defense. Perhaps even better than a second immortal. Certainly Parting thinks so. And with that, you can save almost every unit here if your micro is good enough. Lings are trying to get through once more. A couple more force fields are available after this one, but the Ling's starting to pile on through. Second force field has to be used here. I think he's got maybe 2 more in his pocket. As corrosive biles once again break it down. Ling's actually going to the main base where there are no defenses. Probes will have to be pulled in defense to hide initially as he waits for, I guess, warp-ins, because he cannot afford to send any units to that main base, and this is already getting a little bit too hectic. That main base is not supposed to be under attack. Finally has the 2 warp-ins available, but that took a little while. Meanwhile, Ling's trying once again to get top of the sentries. Quick save with the Warp Prism, as that's certainly still Parting's strong suit. He does have a very good hand at makering. He's got 2 good hands at makering, I guess. StarCraft requires both, even though Protoss might not. Am I right, guys? Nah, but seriously, you're alright. You Protoss kids are alright. This is turned a bit into a disaster just because Ling's out into the main base. This is a second group of Lings, which made it even deadlier. But that was not supposed to happen. This one pylon was not powering literally everything, but it was still powering 2 shield batteries that could be very, very helpful. One gateway is about to fall. The second one is not too healthy either, and that would be the only production aside from the Robo, which is going to produce mostly expensive things. Things that Party might not be able to afford anymore now that he's lost 12 probes. He's down to 13 workers compared to Bly's 20, and Bly might be able to macro out of this. He doesn't win right here, right now. Big surround of the army from the Lings. They once again decide to go into the main base, as the surround's still not quite working out against the Warp Prism micro. But that is going to be it for the main base mining. 3 more probes go down, and Parting's not looking so hot on the economy. He needs to stop losing probes literally right now. And he still has a chance. If he loses any more probes, he probably still dies. Because, you know, the Warp Prism can defend all damn day long. Its offensive capabilities are very low if you can't warp in more stuff. Forced to use a recall to get into the main base quickly. That's another chrono not going to be used for building probes again. Forcefield tries to trap the Lings, but even just buying little bits of time here and there is a good sign for Bly, who, by the way, isn't macroing. He got another queen for injects, but he just continues to make roaches. Okay, there we go. Going into the drones at this point. I guess he did make a couple extra drones, actually, but sparingly. War Prism is here to save the day, but only a few units will be saved. Now that they're out in just the wilderness, they can be completely surrounded, no walls to go up against, and Parting is actually just going to go ahead and tap out of this game. Looked like such a strong start in the beginning of the game. And then letting those Lings through on the north side was a mistake. Thank you, Goat Boy, 1975 for the 10-month resub. So we have Blondie Grub. If we had Ginger Grub. Nah. Thank you for the resub. I'm not really super open to other hair colors. My mom also wants me to be a redhead, like a darker red. And I'm like, nah. Meh. Meh. Bly bullying his way into a win is a very Bly thing to do. It's not too surprising, but generally, cheesers and weird players are better against cheesers and weird players. And then it just becomes a battle of who has the better macro a lot of the times, which I would say Parting does have the better macro. But in that last game, you know, it still happens. You can still die to any cheese or all in, just like everyone else. We're all vulnerable. In the top left of Triton, we have Bly. In the bottom right, as the red Protoss, it is Parting. Both of them showing love to each other. Much love. Please do not call me Jess. My name is ZombieGrub. Gotta respect how dedicated Bly is to cheese. I know, right? But that's how you make it work. That's how you make a name for yourself, that's for sure. But it's also kind of how you don't ever reach above your plateau. Now that I said it with an emphasis, it sounds wrong. plateau. Anyways, Bly has his moments in the spotlight because there's brand new metas and brand new expansions. He's been around since 2010, but that's kind of been the only times he's had his spotlight. And other times when things have settled and relied a lot more on just who the better player was, straight up macro-wise, micro-wise, decision-making-wise, that's been where Bly has fallen behind. And, I mean, it's kind of a... It's probably the cruelest thing you can say, I guess, without being straight up mean, is to say, well, you're just not as good, right? But at some point, it is true. If everyone is as good as everyone else, then everyone would be Cero, and it wouldn't make any sense, right? So, you know, you just hope that people don't hear you saying it, I guess. It's mean. It's mean. But that's the truth of it, and this is where Parting is kind of differing himself away from a lot of the other guys who have come back into the scene. Again, Parting, one of the weird question marks, because he didn't just go to military for 21 months or whatever it is now, and then come back. No, he like went away, did League of Legends, went to Taiwan, went to China, came back for a while, went away again, came back, and it's been a wild ride with him. But if we're comparing him to the likes of Tasia, Bomber, MMA when he was back, Dong Regu, I guess, as well, Parting has been able to keep his appeal even as a, you know, from the 2013 era. He is a good general player who has matched skill even into the 2020 StarCraft 2 era where everyone is better, and keep his cheesiness and his weirdness. So, gotta be a lot of respect for that. I mean, just how much better players are in StarCraft 2 nowadays, really, I don't think can be understated when you compare to people from Wings of Liberty at the very least. Maybe if they retired in like 2015, it's not as different, but yeah. If they retired before that, it's like, oof, good luck coming back. They did have Bly going for that proxy hatch, but it was dealt with very swiftly. Parting went for the Nexus. He did respond with a 2-gateway wall off again, 2-gateway attack again, and it is again about who over-dedicates to the defense, who under-dedicates and takes more damage, so on and so forth, whatever. You get the point. Just like the first game. Even has an Oracle follow-up, just like the first game. But Bly is going for a natural Spore Crawler this time, so no easy kills. Adepts do grab a couple. They continue to be kind of cheeky as long as speed isn't done. Really taking advantage of that late speed, actually. This is dangerous. It's like 15 seconds from finishing. Almost getting a surround. Oh, grabs a surround on one Adept, but 2 still survive. Now is the time to get away. I think he not only wants a couple more drones, but he might also want to see if those eggs popping are going to be lings. He's not going to be able to see that. 6 more lings on the way is a little scary. He saw an opening with the Overlord, but the Zealot does go back into its place. It literally trained 1,000 years to just hold a wall, you guys. It better be good at it. And there are Oracles on the field, so if this is really scary, the Oracles just come back home. Parting follows up with a pretty fast Twilight Council here, so I'm gonna guess Resident Enclaves. He started to research that in the first game, or second game, or whatever it was, and then went into Blink. But with the, you know, it's not Forge Twilight, it's not Robo Twilight. Thinking it's Resident Enclaves. Which I actually think would be a great move. Cancel on that hatchery is nice. There we go, Resident Enclaves. Flippin' nailed it. God, I should commentate. Should be a commentator, you guys. Oh no, Reddit thread incoming. Yeah, well, there's ways to be tactful, and there's ways to not be tactful about talking about people's respective skill differences. I mean, I think we all know what we're thinking about right now. But anyways, there's no action, Jesus. Oh my God, what about Peace 420? All these forgotten memes, y'all. Ah, that Overlord Scout's pretty important. The Phoenix was made to, you know, specifically stop that, as Overlord speed was unlikely to happen in this game. But didn't stop it from scouting a Twilight Council that's being chronoed with nothing beside it. I think, honestly, it's like, it's not out of the realms of possibility that a Protoss would put a Forge over here, or a Robo down here. Like, in fact, they often put the Robo down here. But I think if you see a Twilight Council alone being chronoed this fast, I think you're just like, oh, all right, it's Resident Enclaves. I would expect. But just because Bly knows it's Resident Enclaves doesn't mean he actually has a response to it. In fact, this is his response because it's Roachborn. It's just the tiniest little bit late here. He has plenty of gas and minerals, but his Roachborn wasn't quite done. Finally finishes, and he actually just continues making drones. Okay, there we go. 6 roaches now on the way. I guess his speed of production wasn't a problem now that the wall was set up. And the third base didn't have any drones to attack, but like, uh-oh. He canceled an evolution chamber to make sure it didn't fully wall him off, and in doing so, allowed the adepts into the main base. Now they're going to wreak havoc into a very low mineral drone count anyways. This is already not extremely convincing, but then immediately 6 workers go down, and the adepts will continue to harass these bases. Oracle's also looking for an opportunity on a transferring drone line. 5 adepts still in the natural mineral line. Grab another 6, another 8, another 9 immediately. And even if they die at this point, 18 drones have died. 2 roaches perhaps, no quick transfuse there. Oracle's also not adding too much more damage. But this is all on a third base not being saturated. It's a bad sign for Bly. This parting, I mean, continues to buy more time. Because right now, the issue, as it always has been with adepts, is, oh, I killed 1 billion drones. Do I have anything at home? That is the only issue. And I would say with, you know, roach speed not being quite done, the 2 adepts buying even just a little bit more time, parting is absolutely fine on the defense. And he'll probably even be able to hold his third base. And that's the ultimate GG sign right there.
Warning.
It's not good. It's not good.
Oh
shit, thank you very much, Videk, for the 5 gifted subs. Much appreciated. If you got a sub, make sure to give some sub love. It's live. Is answered with replay cast. Then says it can't be. Neither party nor Bly are streaming. We got ourselves a regular Sherlock Holmes right here. I'm just kidding, dude. It's replays. Nidus Worm is a understandable response, but it wasn't even really the problem of getting his units across the map. That can sometimes be the main problem, you know? The 15 seconds across a map is literally the difference of them having enough army or not. Not this game. Not actually. As you can see, the arm supplies are very similar. And even if you include a couple of queens with transfuse, it doesn't really matter. A Protoss army is just straight up better. And the roaches, oh no, those are force fields right there. Oracles grab a couple of these last roaches as well, and Bly was denied the Nidus Worm in the main base with the Phoenix chasing down his Overlord. Has nothing else scouting for a Nidus Worm to even be put down. To even hear its cries and be like, oh shit, where is it? It's not even gonna happen this game. Thanks for streaming. Thank you for being a great supporter. And a couple Ravagers are done now, and the Warp Prism is forced to disengage. It just re-engages into warp mode and warps into Adepts again. Adepts in these numbers can jump on top of the army. Pretty much no problem. They can even provide like a bit of a wall, you know, some SimCity, some Warcraft 3 action going on here with the body blocking of the Adepts, but also Bly was just dead anyways. A lot of the Adepts do die, and the Immortals are out of their shields, but Warp Prism is still alive. That's going to be the kicker right there. More Adepts come in, Oracles come in to save the day for the Warp Prism, and 1 Immortal, in fact, still lives. Although that might go down, but even without Immortals, the Adept count is going to be insane. Starting at 62 workers, 3 bases, was going to be able to outproduce Bly. No problem. GG. It's funny, because these guys are probably playing on the worst conditions possible. The agreed upon state between a Korean and European player, between tournament organizers, I said European, really weird, between tournament organizers is all central. It's the worst case scenario for both people, I guess. It's as worse as it is for one person as it is for the other. There we go. So it's not a pretty sight in terms of ping for either one of these guys. None of them were like in America training or something like that. And we've had some, you know, kind of intense micro battles. But that's the, that's something they knew could be a possibility. I've messed this completely up. Hold on. There we go. That's something I knew would be a possibility going into the North American Cup. The time zone, I will say this much, the time zone is much worse for Bly. This starts at 5 p.m. Eastern time, which is, what, 11 p.m. European time? But then it goes for about 4 hours. So this is probably pretty late for Bly. For parting, it started around 7 a.m. Korean time, which is actually probably as worse hours as it is for Bly, just because hashtag gamer hours. So who's to say who's actually worse off mentally? I'm not sure. In the bottom right, up 2-1, it is parting on Simulacrum. In the top left, it is Bly. No proxy hatch, no early pool. Finally, some standard hatchery timings. C43 in Europe. I wasn't asking for the time now. I was giving you a reference for the time at which these guys were playing this match. It's funny, anytime I bring up time zones, people in chat always chime in. Get it? Chime in because it's a clock. It's a joke. But also seriously, I'll be like, yes, for a fact, it was this time. And someone will be like, it was that time. And I was like, yes, that's what I said. This happened yesterday. I was like, what are you guys doing? Stop it. Just poking fun. Don't worry. No, don't worry about it. Well, a little probe micro here and there. You're so cool. It's a real Huck moment right now. This is cool. Bly goes for a pretty damn quick third hatch. Parting is allowed to get his Nexus. And only one gateway, no problem. No issue here. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. It's 5 in the morning somewhere. It's 5 o'clock in, what, Hawaii? Alaska? Somewhere in between Alaska and Hawaii? I don't know. I think Hawaii is a pretty good guess. I'm actually not sure what time zone Hawaii is. If Pacific time is 3 hours behind me, how far away is Hawaii? It's 1:30 in Hawaii? Oh my god, Hawaii is so much farther than I thought it was. Oh god. Me and Nish were so off. I thought it was like, 2 time zones behind Pacific. It's so much more. Oh jeez. Where do you live? Well, I said Eastern. So I live in the Eastern Seaboard. Is there a half time zone? In Australia there is. And in like some weird states that are weird because they want to be weird. Oh, it is 4:30 p.m. in Hawaii. Okay, so they were only 2 time zones behind. Okay, I was right. We were all right. It was Jesus Christ that was so off. Jesus Christ, my dude. You're so off. Everyone's off. All right, so me and Nish were actually geniuses. That's that proves something I already knew. I don't know why I doubted myself. We got a couple linksmen across the map. I actually was absolutely not paying attention to what was happening. What happened? He lost an adept and wasn't getting a second unit? That's exactly what the case is. Oh, a second unit was in the main base killing an overlord. I was like, where's the second unit? Why is he building a shield battery? This isn't supposed to be what happens. His Bly is not cheesing. So yeah, the second unit was just out of place. But yeah, Bly, really not cheesing. Really not cheesing. He just built a bunch of drones. Now Roachborn with gases, which can be defensive. As his Overlord, did his Overlord see what it wanted to see? I saw Twilight Council again, and I'll say it again. Twilight Council alone probably means Resident Glyphs. Also, 2 probes that I'm mining in the main base, and no gases at the natural. All point to Resident Glyphs. And then, yeah, the Warp Prism popping out like it's a doy. A doy. Bly needs to make sure he doesn't get supply blocked. He's good on that. He needs enough gas. He's good on that. But he just needs to be building the roaches right now. Or even lings, actually. In the earlier stages of an adept attack, 20 lings threatening these adepts would have been something. But then he couldn't build 11 roaches immediately, so it obviously would have been a trade-off. But these 11 roaches still feel like they're coming just a couple seconds too late. The Roachborn is 10 seconds faster. They're already here before the Adepts shade in. That's usually what makes it such a big difference. If the Adepts get one shade in without being trapped or killed or attacked at all, then that's usually where the bad signs start for the Zerg player. This is a bad sign. It's a bad sign, guys. It's bad. So far, only 9 drones go down, which is better than last game, but it's also a lot of denied mining and just oversaturated mining. He tries his best to split his roaches, and it is kind of effective. Parting is forced to focus fire down some drones. He gets 15. Which is still pretty nice, and more adepts on the way. This is the exact type of game, though, that if he overcommits to the adepts, they get surrounded, roaches pounce on top of them, and an immediate counterattack ensues. He could be in trouble, grabbing a 3rd base this quickly, and an immortal only just started. But these adepts are buying enough time. It looks like the Ling's unable to get any type of full wrap around. The ones that try die. Roach is not in place to help them out. Queen's not even really in place. Well, they don't do any damage anyways. And more drones will continue to fall here. Bly might desperately go for a counter. No. I'm just gonna try and power through it here. Now his gas mining has been completely leveled off. That's gonna be it, I think. This has gone on for way too long. In fact, the 3rd hatchery is about to die to a handful of adepts. This has gone on way, way too long. Parting. All he would have to do is make sure he doesn't die to a counter. He could lose his 3rd Nexus. It's an easy thing to give up right now, as long as he holds his natural, which he will do because Protoss on 2 bases is kind of BS. It's a pretty effective race at holding. A little less so now that, you know, Corrosive Bile exists, so I'll give you guys that, but 2 base Sentry Immortals, pretty good at not dying. So that's all that Parting's got to do. He's going to try and kind of leapfrog forward to secure his 3rd base. These could build shield batteries right now. But they are also still providing fast warp-ins. Doesn't need shield batteries. JK. Doesn't need them at all. Grabs a handful of roaches. That was a desperate Bly. Trying to do some damage on the other side of the map, and it was unsuccessful. Warp Prism's also waiting for the big committal if it ever happens, too. If all the units go across the map, it's gonna swoop right on in and be like, haha, where's your drones? Got your drones. It really doesn't have to go right here right now, but Parting's not really doing much else, I guess. Waiting for his gateways, waiting for Blink. Just recalls it, actually. Pretty perfectly timed. As Lings come in, Adepts respond. Tit for tat. 2 drones or 2 probes. But look at the supply. 30 supply difference for Parting for the Protoss, and it's all an army supply? Yeah, forget about it. Forget about it. Thank you, Anonymous, for gifting Jesus Christ a tier 1 sub. Do you feel bad that I jokingly yelled at him? Jesus was right about Alaska. Oh, okay. But not Hawaii. And there's the aggressive Blink forward, which is actually a little overzealous. That was, I don't know about that. But 3 Immortals, a ton of force fields, tons more Stalkers coming in. He's on 7 gateways. No upgrade this time, but doesn't really need it. All the force fields disappear, but it doesn't matter. Another aggressive Blink forward. And Parting takes a 3-1 victory for the North American EPL Open Cup number 4. These guys just, they wanted to play in North America for some reason. I don't know. Europe ain't big enough for Bly, and Korea ain't big enough for Parting. Although